Hello everyone, Silent here, and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to build some very simple, reliable, and one-wide tileable Shulker Box Loaders and Unloaders in your Bedrock Edition worlds. Now that Shulker farms are officially on Bedrock Edition, there is no reason for you to not have a whole army of loaders and unloaders for your storage systems and your mob farms in your Bedrock Edition worlds. All the Shulker loaders and unloaders that I show you how to build in today's video are completely lossless, so none of these Shulker boxes will ever get lost somewhere in the redstone and despawn. I've tested it extensively, and I'm like 99.999% guaranteed that nothing's gonna despawn. Shulker box item physics have been really weird like this since at least 2018. It's been weird the whole time, basically, but these designs are reliable and you won't lose any shulkers. These designs are also relog proof, so you can log in and log out and leave the area as much as you want, and these designs will not break and you won't have any issues with them. And I really have tested these things extensively. I basically delayed this video a day just so I could run more tests, and even while recording this video so far, they've already been tested probably like 300-400 times with absolutely no issues. You can see all those tests there. That's already been emptied like 4 times, and all these ones have been tested with absolutely no issues either. So it's a very reliable and just straightforward system. If you're wondering where you're going to get all these Shulker shells, Shulker farms were recently introduced to Bedrock Edition, and I made a super simple and straightforward tutorial that you can see up in the iCards, or it's linked down in the description. You don't need to get Shulkers out of the end, and you can build it probably within about 20 minutes or so, and it will get you way more Shulkers than you ever need. So let's check out these systems in more detail, shall we? Behind me here, we have a Shulker Box Unloader. I've preloaded this with a bunch of nearly empty Shulker boxes just so you can see it in action. All of the items will get drained out of the Shulker box into this chest right here, which you can send off to your storage system to get sorted. And then we have the actual Shulker box output right here. As you can see, all the Shulkers are 100% empty, and there is no issues with Shulker box ending up where they shouldn't. This right here is a one-wide tileable Shulker Box Loader. I preloaded this with a bunch of nearly full Shulker boxes, again, just so you can see the system in action. And once these Shulker boxes get completely filled up, they will be broken, put into your storage system, and a new one will be dispensed. So of course, these systems are one-wide tileable, and they work independently of each other. As you can see, we got an array of 7 right here. Each one of these can be set up to fill up one specific item, and you can easily put an item filter on top of these to tell it which item you want to be filled up. And of course, the Shulker Box Unloader can also be tiled as well. I don't know why you need to tile it, but I decided to make it that way because why not? As you can see, all of your Shulker boxes go where you want them to, so you get all of your empty Shulkers in one area, and then each of your items can also be sent to their own separate output, or more likely sent to a storage system to be sorted. I'd also like to mention that if you're just building a single slice of these, then you will need some additional glass blocks on the edges just to keep those Shulker boxes in place. So it's technically a one-wide tileable build, but you need to put some like guardrails on the edges just to prevent your Shulker boxes from being lost. Now, for the rest of the video, I did hide these with barriers instead, just so you could actually see the actual build because the glass is kind of in the way. And when it comes to the Shulker Box Loaders, you do need an extra hopper to the left and to the right as well, just to prevent you from losing Shulker boxes. If you had just a solid pillar of glass right here or something, then some of them would still glitch out. The item physics are really strange, so you need to do a little bit of shenanigans just to prevent you from losing any Shulker boxes, but it's not a big deal. And if you have like a whole array of these, then as you can see, it's just one extra block on the ends here. A real quick design choice I'd like to explain real quick is we have a repeater going into an observer, and that powers the dispenser via redstone torch right here. Now, of course, you could just replace that entire system with a solid block right there, and that does technically work. However, this causes some of these Shulker boxes to actually fly through the front of your build, and they land on the ground over here, which is not great at all, so I replaced that with the observer and redstone torch method that you can see right here. So that is why that is like that. It's a little bit more expensive, of course, but it saves you a Shulker box, like, very often. And let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? For your convenience, there is a materials listed down in the description of the video. That way you know absolutely everything you need to build with. For the Shulker Box Unloader, we're going to need a 6 wide area, and this is going to be 6 blocks tall as well. I would recommend avoiding chunk borders when you build this, because you never know how those might break a build. We're going to start off at the front here and place 2 hoppers going to the side. The back one is going to be for the items that you're unloading, and the front one is going to be for your shulker boxes. Place in yourself a solid block right there and a regular piston facing forwards. We now want ourselves an observer facing this direction, and then we want to get ourselves a slab right here with a repeater facing into that observer on 1 tick. Now grab yourself a sticky piston, and we need to go up by a couple of blocks just so we can place the sticky piston facing downwards. Place an observer facing away from the build and go ahead and remove that block. We need a temporary block right here and a comparator right here. Place in yourself a redstone torch right there, a repeater right here on 2 ticks, an observer facing that repeater, a repeater right here on 3 ticks, and then a dispenser facing straight down like so. We want a hopper on top of this, a block right here, and then a button right there. This is going to be your shulker box delivery line, so all of your shulker boxes that need to be emptied will be delivered into your dispensers right here. And that is the entire Shulker Box Unloader. If you are building multiple of these, then you basically just put them one right next to each other, and all the items will get sent where you want them, and all the shulker boxes will get sent where you want them as well. If you're building multiple of these, then you also need to put a hopper line going across the top of this build as well. That way you can toss in all of your shulkers that need unloading, and then they will fill up each slice of your build and get unloaded. And that's basically all there is to it. And let's hop into the tutorial for the Shulker Box Loader, shall we? For your convenience, there's a full materials listed down in the description of the video. That way you know everything you need to build with. This build is 7 blocks long, and it is 6 blocks tall as well. I'd recommend avoiding chunk borders because you never know how those might break things. So we're going to start off at the front of the build, 3 blocks in. Place in a temporary block and a hopper facing to the side if you want all of your shulker boxes to end up in the same output. If you want all of your shulker boxes to be sorted, then place your hopper facing to the front, but it doesn't really matter. Now go ahead and place a repeater on 4 ticks facing towards the front of the build, and then an observer facing that, solid block behind it, button right there, redstone torch above it, and a dispenser facing forwards like so to dispense your shulker boxes. We now want a solid block behind that repeater, a piston facing forwards, and then a temporary block right here, 2 hoppers facing downwards. Remove the temporary block. We need another temporary block right here, and then a hopper facing to the side like so. This hopper is to fill up your dispenser with shulker boxes that need to be loaded, and this is for items to fill up your shulker box with. Finishing off the build from here is very easy. Place in a comparator on top of that piston like so, and then you want a temporary block right here, sticky piston on top of that, and then an observer facing that piston. Go ahead and get 3 solid blocks in these locations like so, and then just redstone dust on top of all of that. And that is your entire Shulker Box Loader complete. So if you're building multiple of these right next to each other, then you just simply mirror this and build it all the way along the line. You can have as many of these in the row as you want to. To complete the system, you would probably put an item filter on top of the build, just like so. It's just a standard item filter design with the standard filter inside of here. Whatever item you want your shulker boxes to be filled up with, you would put right there. You know, stone, cobblestone, mob drops, whatever you want to do. And then down here to actually deliver shulker boxes to your dispensers, you would likely have a rail line with a chest minecart to deliver empty shulker boxes. And that is about all there is to it. And going across the top of all of your shulker box loaders, you would just have a hopper line feeding into all these item filters and the standard way. And your final design would look a little bit something like this, and that's about all there is to it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but it does get a little bit tall, doesn't it? And of course, if you choose to have your hoppers going straight forward, then you need 2 additional hoppers in front, and then a chest, and then all of the full shulker boxes from this slice should end up in this chest right here. They might go to the side a little bit if you have some bad luck, but for the most part, they should all end up in this chest. If you enjoyed today's Bedrock tutorial, then drop a like as it helps out the video and the channel a ton. If you're new here, then consider subscribing to help us reach 500,000. And otherwise, I'll see you guys down in the comment section in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and then there was silence.